Hi, I'm Justin Wright, and I write fantasy fiction. I've written 2 books so far in the World of Kallodhan. They're dark fantasy, more in the vein of George R. R. Martin. The first book follows 3 brothers looking for their father, who's gone missing, the lord of the city, and they come across, each gets into horrific events. The second book, which actually runs parallel to the first, is about a young girl who has a terrible home life, and her best friend escape, and they get entangled in what is going on in the first book. So it's dark fantasy. Also have a short story goes free if you sign up for my mailing list, and you can find it at www.justinwrightsbooks.com.
And are these, do you have to read them in a specific order, or could you read either or?
You could read either or because the characters do cross over. It's good to read the first one before the second one, but it doesn't matter. So, yeah.
My name's Peter Howe. I'm the author of 2 books. One is called The Game Changer, a collection of poetry, and the other one is called Confront the Raven. The Game Changer, a collection of poetry, is a collection of 71 poems that covers all sorts of different topics, but the underlying topic is about getting people to realize that the world has changed and we have to adapt and learn to see things differently. In Confront the Raven, it's a collection of 16 poems and 16 short stories, and the underlying theme of all of them is about coming face to face with the things we may not want to confront, whether it be on a personal or societal level, and then taking that to the next step and realize it, and ideally confronting it and hopefully one day conquering it. So the stories, they take various forms. It's not just the same story over and over again. Some stories take place in the past, some take place in the future, one takes place inside a guy's mind. It varies quite a bit, but those are the books I've written, and hopefully you can check them out on Amazon.com, or if you catch me at one of the events I'm going to be at this year.
Okay, and do you have a website people can look up, or a Twitter handle?
I don't have a website. Once again, both books are available on Amazon, both the Canadian and US versions of the website. So once again, the books are called The Game Changer, a collection of poetry. The other one is called Confront the Raven, and both of them are by Peter Howe.
Yet she was still leery. Last night she'd had another nightmare about desert bandits. Dreamt she was on a camel halfway to Geraldton, got slammed in the chest by a rubber arrow, was dragged, kicking and screaming to the Gertrude of a buff man with the head of a black panther, who eyed her hungrily. She was locked in a dog cage, trying to cover her sudden nakedness, and the Gertrude rocked back and forth, riding north into the deep desert. Kimbers, the moon panther, Wormslayer, Sandstorm. These were names that were always on the forefront of her mind when she rode north to see Mulholland. She sucked back a gulp of water from her flagon. Aye, let's keep moving. Johnson Ramos was her only employee, though at this point he was really more of a business partner. Although she'd been brushing up on her archery lately, she still wouldn't dare venture outside Leinster city limits without him. The man had been all over the world, running protection jobs in places like Burma and Tibet. Originally from Europe, he'd left for the open frontier, as he put it, though she suspected there was more to the story than that. She paid him on contract, but there'd been more than one occasion when she'd been short and had to make it up later. He never complained, and she'd been generous with cutting him in on percentages and the runs he'd made to Lenora and Laverton to deliver Mulholland's prints. By 4 in the afternoon, the Mulholland ranch was visible on the horizon, and they rode through the gates not 20 minutes later. Mrs. Mulholland met them on the front porch, walking over to the watering station where they hitched their horses. "Miss Umberton, right on schedule!" she exclaimed. "I endeavour to stick to my timetables, Dana," she replied. "How have you been? Any more dingo troubles?" "Oh, our camels just spit at those vermin and scare them off. It's the young ones that are the target, but we've had no issues. Mr. Ramos, how are you, sir? Let me get the 2 of you some water. No troubles on the road, I take it." Dana Mulholland led them into the main house, where a pitcher of cool water already awaited them. Passing by the basement door, she called down to her son with an impatient shout, then immediately returned to that lovely demeanor. "Did your cousin get in safely, dear?" Ashland Mulholland came bounding up the stairs. That peach fuzz on his upper lip didn't appear to have grown any further since the last time Penelope had been up here. He was wearing an oversized t-shirt and tracky dacks, his hair a mess, and he hadn't put on deodorant in at least a few days. Ash immediately bumped fists with Johnson, who was standing just next to the basement door. "Jay all, mate, how you been?" "Master Mulholland," chirped Johnson, grinning at the boy. "Nell, darling, looking fine as always." "Oh, you know how to steal a girl's heart," Penelope replied sardonically. "The last run just needs staples. Come, come." Downstairs there were stacks of bundled comic books, some already in plastic and twine, some loosely assembled awaiting their packaging. The press was in the center of the room, the plates he'd inked stacked at the side. Ash scurried to the wooden table next to the press, shuffled some pages together with his hands, slipped them under the stapler. She was a partial owner of all of this equipment, purchased mostly with money her mum had left her. She'd sat on it for a while, shifting it around in local investments, settling some debts, paid the back taxes on her house. There wasn't much in the way of business in Leinster, and for a time she'd even considered striking out for Kalgoorlie or Perth. But then she'd found a then 17-year-old kid selling what he'd hand-drawn at a convention just north of town, and the rest, well, the rest would soon be history. "Issues 5 and 6, he said, handing her the copies of the newest installments of the Mad Con's Menagerie. She wanted to act businesslike, but in reality, she was dying to see what Moxie was going to do next. In issue number 4, she'd just infiltrated Illugi's harem, gotten, cozy with some of the concubines, and learned that Chagatai's offensive was closing in fast. Casually, she flipped through the first few pages. It looked as though Illugi, in his mad paranoia, was checking the enlistment records of his concubines. "She switches names with another wench, and the other girl's raped by a horse," Ash said. He loved spoiling the story for her. She bit her lip and glared at him, taking a breath. She said, "You're not showing horse rape in here, are you?" "Just the horse grinning devilishly. There's no cock shots." "Good," she declared. "I do have certain standards. And by the way, the detail on the breast is immaculate. But could you just dial it back a touch?"